That was unbelievable, guys. The Toronto Raptors engineer another epic comeback. They defeat the Wizards 111-107 as the Raptors are now 5-5 on the season. It was Scotty Barnes who led the Raptors to a 22-point comeback earlier this season against the San Antonio Spurs. And in this one, it was Pascal Siakam who led the Raptors to a 23-point comeback against the Washington Wizards. Yes, Pascal Siakam single-handedly took over this game and propelled the Raptors to a win after the Raptors played their worst half of basketball that we had seen all season. I mean, it was ugly. And it looked like this was going to be an ugly night for the Toronto Raptors. They were missing OG Anunoby, who hurt himself, cut his finger doing chores around the house. Yeah, that's true. Gary Trent Jr. remained out. So the Raptors were shorthanded in this one. They started Otto Porter Jr. And this game got off to as worse of a start as you could have imagined for the Toronto Raptors. I mean, their defense was horrible. In that first half, the Wizards were shooting at 62%. They were hitting all their shots, getting to the basket at will. Raptors looked terrible. Then third quarter happened. Pascal Siakam said, enough is enough. I'm taking over. I'm about to single-handedly bring the Raptors back here, and that he did. Pascal Siakam scoring 29 of his 39 points in the second half. That third quarter, just feasting on the Wizards, who had no answer for Siakam. And Siakam finished his game with 39 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. He was a plus 18. And he was 15-24 from the field. The only negative, only downside is that 3-ball for Siakam is non-existent. Siakam is now, I think, like one of 19, 20 from his one for his last 20 from 3. I mean, he was 0-4 from 3 in this one. So Siakam has not been hitting his 3 balls, and that's got to change, obviously. But, I mean, you can't fault Siakam on this night. I mean, the Raptors simply do not win this game. They do not make this a game in any way if it wasn't for Pascal Siakam. I don't know how the hell Pascal Siakam didn't get the chain after the game. I saw on X, Aaron Rose reporting that it was Chris Boucher that got the chain. I mean, Pascal Siakam deserved it if you ask me. Again, the Raptors do not win this game without Siakam. And, Chris Boucher, I got on him a little bit because, him and Precious especially, they weren't good towards the beginning of this game, but in the fourth quarter, they did play crucial minutes with that lineup with Siakam and Barnes. Boucher was a plus 14, high energy, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, had 7 points. Precious Achiuwa was actually a plus 8, 10 points, 5-8 from the field, had some questionable moments, but overall he played okay. You look at Flynn, he had 6 points. I really liked Grady Dick in this one. I thought, he came into this game, hit a couple of threes early on, 3 of 4. Did a lot of good things. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 offensive. Grady Dick continues to do a solid job. He continues to do the little things well, but this was a game where that shot actually dropped because that was one of the things that wasn't going his way as of late. So it was nice to see Grady Dick get his stroke going. No pun intended. But you look at the Raptors in this one. Scotty Barnes had 19 points, 8 of 17 from the field. He came alive towards the end there, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals he had. I mean, he was big defensively in this one, especially late. And that's kind of been the theme with Barnes over these last couple of games. The shooting numbers have been down, but he impacts the game in so many different ways. And we see that, whether it's him, getting a steal, him playing great defense, him setting up his teammates, him crashing the glass. Scotty Barnes can do it all, which makes him so potent. Dennis Schroeder had his worst game of the season. He really struggled. 4 points, was 1 of 12 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. The best thing Schroeder did was use his speed there at the end to kill the clock, before he hit some game-winning free throws and sealed this thing for the Toronto Raptors to make it a 4-point lead. But, this was just a crazy comeback. Pirtle had 13 points. Porter Jr. had 5. And you look at this Raptors team, they come back the way that they did. Like, the Wizards are a terrible basketball team. That it makes you think, like, this game should have never had to come down to the Raptors literally having to play perfect second half basketball and erasing this 23-point lead because the Wizards suck. I mean, it is evident. The Wizards did everything in their power to lose this game. Like, they did not hit a field goal in the last 7 minutes of this game. The Raptors finished this game on a 22-1 run. So, you know, as much as this is exciting to see the Raptors, have this epic comeback, even though you're without OG, Gary Trent Jr., it shouldn't have to come down to this. The Raptors should have handled their business, and they should have blown out a team in the Washington Wizards who were coming off the second night of a back-to-back. But this Raptors team, where you do got to give them credit, and is something that is a change from last season, in my opinion, is they do not give up. And they are very resilient. And now we've seen it in 2 games. Because if this was the Raptors team of last season, they're losing these games against the Wizards and back in San Antonio by 20 to 30 points. Like, they're not making those comebacks. I know the Raptors had a lot of fake comebacks last season, and that's the thing. They're making a lot of fake comebacks. But so far this season, we are seeing this Raptors team, play the whole 48. Even if they have a terrible 24, they come to play in the second half. And now, granted, this is against bad teams that are expected to be in the lottery, Wizards and Spurs. But, I mean, the energy in the second half, the effort was day and night compared to the first half. And right now, my tone would have been much, much, much different if the Raptors didn't flip the script, if they didn't pull this thing around. Because if they somehow lost this game in the manner in which it looked like they were, I mean, the sky would have been falling. And you could still make an argument that, this Raptors team is not, in an ideal position. But all things considered, you look at where the Raptors stand now. They are 5-5 through 10 games. And that's kind of the season that many people expected, this type of 500 basketball where the Raptors have moments of brilliance, and then they have moments where you're just shaking your head, wondering what the heck you're watching. That's kind of summarized these last 10 games, the first 10 games for the Toronto Raptors. As they are 5-5, they have beaten teams that they should have. Granted, it took epic comebacks, and, they did have some signature wins against the likes of the Mavericks, the Timberwolves. I know they didn't have Jaden McDaniels. Mavericks didn't have Lively. They beat the Bucks, so they're going to see again on Wednesday. We'll see how they look against the Bucks again, because obviously the Bucks were still trying to figure it out. And then they had some, very questionable moments where you just, sit there and wonder, what is this team all about? Getting blown up by the Celtics, collapsing the way that they did against the Bulls, having these letdowns in the first half against teams like the Wizards and Spurs. So that's kind of been the theme for the Raptors, that 500 brand of basketball. But, you look at the early part of the schedule, I think a lot of people would have taken the 5-5 start after 10. So let me know what your thoughts have been about the Raptors after 5 games. How do you feel about this team? Right now, this team is very, very confusing because, like I said, there's moments in which they look good, but then there's moments where you're just scratching your head and they play some of the ugliest basketball you've seen. Case in point, that first half against the Wizards. But all in all, got to credit the Raptors. They did get it done against a Washington team that they absolutely needed to beat, especially since you look at the Raptors' upcoming games. They got the Bucks Wednesday, Celtics Friday, so you got to be able to beat teams like the Wizards. And Pascal Siakam, he brought his A game. When it looked like the Raptors tapped out, they packed it in. Pascal Siakam led the way. He did not give up. He set the tone. He allowed for the Raptors to come back, which opened the door in the fourth quarter. And the Raptors absolutely exposed the Wizards in that fourth, outscoring them 30-16 on their way to this 4-point win. So the Raptors get it done, guys. Pascal Siakam leads the Raptors to one of their biggest comebacks, 23-point comeback. And the Washington Wizards absolutely collapsed down the stretch as the Raptors get this one done. Their defense, which looked abysmal without OG Anunoby in that first half, came to play down the stretch, shutting the door on the Wizards as the Wizards only scored 16 in that fourth quarter. So we will see how the Raptors now look against the Bucks on Wednesday. Can they beat the Bucks again, or are they going to roll over? We'll see which version of the Raptors we're going to get because, like I said, that's kind of been the theme so far this season. Which version of the Raptors are you going to get? But let me know your thoughts of this team through 10 games. Let me know your reaction to this epic 23-point comeback. Drop a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 1,000 subs on this channel. That is it for me. This is Lucas signing off. Until next time, stay safe.